Hello and welcome to Awakening the Bandhas 3-part mini-series. In this free training, you're going to learn how to awaken each of the 3 major bandhas. Before we dive into the course, I want to acknowledge that this is a beginner's class. So that means if you have never done yoga before, then you can absolutely join this class and jump right in and follow along. However, if you are a seasoned yogi, you have a well-defined yoga practice, and you're looking for a way to elevate your practice, to experience heightened states of consciousness more frequently in your practice, and taking your practice from the physical into the energetic realm, then this is the practice for you. The skills that you'll develop inside of this mini-series, you will be able to apply to your existing yoga practice, movement, or spiritual practice, your sadhana. For this class in this series, Awakening Mula Bandha, I don't recommend practicing this sequence while you're menstruating, especially if you have painful periods, excessive bleeding, or you suffer from endometriosis, because some of the postures that we do in this sequence might further aggravate those symptoms. If you're looking for yoga to practice while you are menstruating, then check out Yoga for the 4 Phases. Hi, I'm Nicole, and if you are totally new to my world, I am a sexual yoga and relationship specialist. And not just romantic relationships, but all relationships with yourself, with your friends, your family, of course, your lover, with the plants, the animals, the natural world, and of course, the universe. Because relationship is a spiritual practice, and life is relationship. As my teacher says, if you aren't relating, you are disintegrating. On that note, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my teachers and all the teachers who came before me, all the keepers of this sacred wisdom. May I be blessed to carry on the lineage of this traditional wisdom. In this mini-series, you are going to learn how to take yoga beyond the mat, where it has its greatest impact, which is your everyday life. And of course, that includes your sex life. So if you're tuning in for the very first time, I recommend staying with me, watching through this introduction. If you are a returning student, check the chapters down below and go ahead and jump into your practice. So this is the Awaken the Bandhas mini-series. It's a 3-part mini-series because there are 3 major bandhas, and each session is going to cover one of those 3 major bandhas. So like I've just said a couple times now, there are 3 major bandhas, and there are many minor bandhas. The 3 major bandhas are Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, and Jalandhara Bandha. Each of the 3 major bandhas are associated with, but not isolated to, the 3 major diaphragms in the body: the pelvic diaphragm, the abdominal diaphragm, and the pharyngeal diaphragm. So, what the heck is a bandha? Well, bandha is a Sanskrit word, and its literal translation to English means lock, but it can also be understood as a station. So each of the 3 major bandhas are the 3 major energy stations in the body where it is safe to store sexual energy. When you're learning how to sublimate your sexual energy, to circulate your sexual energy, for breathgasms, energygasms, and the non-ejaculatory orgasm, you will be pumping your energy up these 3 stations. They are both a physical lock, a physical engagement, right? They're associated with the diaphragms, but they're also an energetic lock, where you're bridging the gap between the physical asana practice of yoga and the energetic, the pranic aspect of yoga. Bridging the gap between proprioception, the understanding and awareness of your body in space, and interoception, the awareness of what's happening internally in your body. In today's class, we are going to cover the first station, the first major bandha, mula bandha. Mula bandha is associated with, but not isolated to, the pelvic diaphragm. It's the first station when learning how to pump your sexual energy up the spine for sublimation, circulating your sexual energy, and experiencing energygasm, breathgasm, and the non-ejaculatory orgasm. It is associated with the second chakra, the sacral chakra, svadhisthana, which is the seat of desire, creativity, and taste in the body. So keep that in mind just back there while you're taking part in this 3-part mini-series, because we're going to come back to this thread when we talk about Jalandhara Bandha throat lock, because there is an intrinsic link between your pelvis and your throat, between Mula Bandha and Jalandhara Bandha, between the pelvic diaphragm and the pharyngeal diaphragm, between Svadhisthana chakra and Vishuddha chakra. So what happens physically when you start to engage with Mula Bandha is that it brings greater blood flow and circulation to your pelvis and your pelvic organs, which includes your sexual organs and your eliminatory organs. This is especially important as you age to be able to maintain sexual and eliminatory function. So if you're a man who struggles with premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, retrograde ejaculation, or incontinence, learning to engage Mula Bandha can help ease a lot of those symptoms, returning an even state of flow to the area, and also gives you an entire inner system software update, because as you gain greater blood flow to the area, you're also bringing with that blood flow greater nutrient to the area to up level the health of your pelvic and eliminatory organs. And this goes for the female body as well. If you have prolapsed sexual or eliminatory organs, if you're suffering from incontinence, if you are preparing or recovering from birth, if you have painful periods or vaginal atrophy, you can use your newfound pelvic health and engagement to help ease a lot of these symptoms and recover function over these areas, because what's happening is you are turning involuntary muscles into voluntary muscles. This means you gain control over this area of your body. So if you are a woman who has been experimenting with the jade egg or Benoit technology or Kegel exercises, you've been working with a pelvic floor specialist, you can absolutely integrate those existing practices with the skills that you learn in this class. Find a nice, comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you. And then when you're comfortable, close the eyes. We'll take a short moment to ground into this space. To do so, take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And then a long exhale through the mouth. Start to breathe in and out of your nose if you aren't already. And we will also include a breathing practice on top of yogic breathing called samavriti. So this is where your inhale and exhale are the same length and all of the breath flows in and out of the nose. Now that we have established that rhythm, taken a moment to sink into this space, we'll begin with the first part of yogic breathing, which is belly breathing. So you might find it helpful if you place one or both hands on your belly. And as you inhale, you're going to breathe into your belly, expanding your belly into your hand. And as you exhale, you can very gently push your hand into your belly, guiding and encouraging your belly in towards the spine. Inhale, expanding your belly into your hand. Feel that expansion. And as you exhale, draw your navel in towards your spine. Let's do that a few more times. So if this feels like an appropriate challenge for you, or if you're finding it difficult or requires a lot of focus to pair the movement of the belly with the breath, then stay here, keep doing exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, we'll add on to this so that as you breathe into your belly, you're also going to push down on your pelvic floor, almost as if you were going to urinate, but for obvious reasons, don't. And as you exhale, draw your pelvic floor in and up as if you were trying to pause that stream of urination and draw your navel in towards the spine. Inhale to expand the belly, push down on the pelvic floor. And exhale, draw the pelvic floor in and up, the navel to the spine. Keep breathing like this. Let's do that 3 more times. Once that third breath is complete, we're going to move on to part 2 of yogic breathing, which is thoracic breathing. So you're going to create a capital letter C with your hands and then mirror that with the other side. You're going to take your hands and grab the outside of your ribs in line with your solar plexus. So that's just below the sternum there. You might be able to feel your ribs underneath your hands. Now the belly is going to remain relatively still, and as you inhale, you're going to breathe into the rib cage, expanding your rib cage in all 4 directions, front, back, and side to side. And you might feel your ribs expand on the inhale. And as you exhale, you're relaxing and condensing the rib cage, knitting the ribs back together. And you might feel the space between your ribs, the intercostal muscles, shrink. Inhale to feel them expand. And exhale to contract. Keep breathing like this. Let's do that 3 more times. When that third breath is complete, we're going to move into the third of 3 parts of yogic breathing, which is clavicular breathing. Now, this is the most subtle of the 3 parts, and in fact, to access clavicular breathing, we need to move through thoracic breathing. So you're going to keep doing exactly what you were just doing. Belly remains relatively still, breathing into the rib cage. But then once the rib cage is full, you're going to continue to breathe, and you'll feel the chest rise. So take 1 hand or 2 onto your collarbones, your clavicles, and the next time that you inhale, keep the belly pretty still and expand your rib cage. Once your rib cage is full, you're going to keep inhaling and feel the lift of the chest. So it's going to rise skywards. You might even feel your collarbones spread or lift slightly. There might even feel like a fullness at the base of your throat. All of those are signs of your clavicular breathing. And when you exhale, you're going to move in the opposite direction. So the chest is going to come down, the collarbones are going to come down, that tension at the base of your throat will ease, and then your rib cage will knit back together. Inhale into the rib cage. Keep inhaling to lift the chest. And then exhale to relax the chest first. And then draw the ribs back in. So keep breathing like this. Three more breaths like this. So when those 3 breaths are complete, we're going to finish off by putting all 3 parts together and practice full yogic breathing. If at any point your seat is becoming uncomfortable, you can absolutely make adjustments so that you can endure the practice without too much discomfort. So let's begin by placing 1 hand on the collarbones and then 1 hand on the belly. And do your best to feel both collarbones underneath 1 hand. As you inhale, you're going to breathe into the belly first. Expand the belly into the hand. When the belly is full, breathe up into the rib cage. When the rib cage is full, breathe up into the chest. And then exhaling in the opposite direction. The chest comes down first, then the ribs come in, then finally navel towards spine. Inhale, belly first, then the rib cage, then the chest. Exhaling in the opposite direction. Chest down, ribs in, belly in. Now, keep breathing like this. If you would like to add on Mula Bandha because you're feeling very secure in your breathing, as you inhale, you're going to, just like before, breathe into the belly, but you're also going to push down on the pelvic floor. Breathe up into the rib cage. Breathe up into the chest. Exhale to relax the chest. Draw the ribs in, belly in, and then finally, pelvic floor in and up. Inhale, pelvic floor down, belly out, ribs out, chest up. And then exhale, chest down, ribs in, belly in, pelvic floor in. Keep breathing like that. Let's take 3 more breaths like that. And when your third breath is complete, you can relax your hands down into your lap and continue to breathe naturally. From here, we're going to come up onto all fours for a tabletop position. So your hands will be under the shoulders and knees under the hips. Back of the pelvis, back of the shoulders, and back of the head all neutral. Legs are firm, arms are firm. Not hard, just firm, finding that activation and stability first before we move on from here. Find your belly and pelvic breathing. As you breathe into the belly, inhale, expanding the pelvic floor. Rest of the body remains relatively still as you draw the navel in towards the spine and the pelvic floor in and up. Let's do 3 more breaths like that. Keep breathing exactly as you are. We're going to add on to this. So as you inhale, you're going to tilt your tailbone up towards the sky. Open the belly, open the chest, looking up towards the sky for cow. And as you exhale, hug your belly in towards your spine. Draw the navel in and up. Tuck the chin in tightly, engaging all 3 major bandhas. Inhale to expand, arching the spine, opening all 3 major bandhas, shining them up and out. Exhale to round, pushing the floor away with the hands, opening up the back of the heart. As you tuck the chin tightly, hug the navel in, pull the pelvic floor in. Inhale to let go, open. And exhale, draws Mula Bandha in, Uddiyana Bandha in, Jalandhara Bandha in. And let's do 5 more like that. When that 5th cat-cow is complete, you're going to pause in your neutral tabletop. Tuck the toes, lift the knees, and you're going to walk the hips back into a squat. So this is where you might want a block. If you can't sink your hips down deeply because there's constriction in your hips or that causes too much strain on your knees, you can squat onto a block. Start with it on the highest setting. You can always lower it down to any of the settings afterwards. So you'll just slide that behind your heels and sit down onto your block. Whether you're sitting on a block or you've sunken your hips down onto the mat, your heels will point in, your toes out, and your knees following your feet. In Malasana, your squat pose, we're going to alter the breath now and focus on the inhale. So as you inhale, you're going to push down on your pelvic floor, almost as if you were going to urinate. And then as you exhale, just relax that effort. Inhale to push down. Exhale to relax that effort. Inhale to push down. Exhale to relax that effort. You might notice that in Malasana, in this squat pose, it's much easier to enforce that downward push on the pelvic floor. This is because Malasana engages Apana Vayu, which is one of the systems of flow, the system of flow that governs the down and out motion. It creates a downward force on the pelvis and the organs that are inside the pelvis, including your sex organs and your eliminatory organs. So, coming into squat can really help you gain control of that downward force. Let's do 5 more breaths here to become familiar with that sensation. When that 5th breath is complete, you're going to sit your hips down and roll down onto your back, planting the soles of the feet on the mat. For this next posture, we're going to take supported bridge. So you're going to want a block for this one. If you don't have any blocks, you can absolutely just use a pillow or a cushion. So with the soles of the feet planted on the mat and the back of your shoulders and the back of your head firmly supported by the mat, you're going to lift your hips just enough that you can slide your block underneath your pelvis so that the back of your pelvis and your hips are very firmly supported by that block. Make sure that there's no pinching in your lower back. If you are feeling some pinching, then you'll want to manipulate your prop onto a lower setting, or if it's already on its lowest setting, try using a pillow or cushion instead of a block, because that decompresses a lot more than a block does. From here, we're going to alter our breathing once more and focus on the exhale. So as you inhale, just breathe naturally. And then as you exhale, draw your pelvic floor in and up. As you inhale, relax that effort. And as you exhale, draw your pelvic floor in and up. So the opposite of what we were doing in Malasana, squat pose. Inhale to relax that effort. Exhale draws the pelvic floor in and up, engaging Mula Bandha. You might notice that it's much easier to draw the pelvic floor in and up in bridge pose. And that's because, very much like Malasana engaged one of the systems of flow, bridge pose engages with the systems of flow, working with Udana Vayu, the up and out system of flow in the body. Because bridge pose is an inversion. That means that your hips are over your heart and your heart is over your head. We're now working with gravity to draw the pelvic floor in and up, as opposed to against gravity, which we were in all the other yoga poses that we've done in this class so far. You'll notice that when you work with a system of flow within your body and a universal system of flow, gravity, it greatly eases the challenge of pulling that pelvic floor in and up, of engaging Mula Bandha. So we're recruiting some allies here through our systems of flow. Let's take 5 more breaths like that. When your 5 breaths are complete, lift your hips just enough that you can slide your block out from beneath you, and then roll back down, taking a moment to reconnect with your breath, breathing rhythmically and naturally, and tuning into the effects of this practice on your body. This has been Awakening Mula Bandha from the 3-part series, Awakening the Bandhas. And I want to remind you before you sign off that this class is designed to be practiced regularly to help familiarize you with the sensations of engaging and also relaxing Mula Bandha, so that you can integrate that newfound skill into your existing movement, yoga, or spiritual practice, your everyday life. Stay tuned for part 2, Uddiyana Bandha. I'm Nicole, and I'll see you in the next video.